Hello, listeners. Jordan here. I just want to let you know that you can listen to Nighttime early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Include it with Prime.
You are listening to Keep Canada Weird, a weekly weird news roundup by the Nighttime Podcast.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to the weekly Keep Canada Weird discussion series. If you are new here, my name is Jordan Bonaparte, and in Keep Canada Weird, my pal Aaron Airport and I seek out and explore all the offbeat news stories that played out across Canada over the past week. In tonight's episode, which was recorded on the 25th of June 2024, Aaron and I try to navigate the bad map that was recently distributed by an Ottawa Member of Parliament. We're going to rage against the robots being deployed in some federal buildings. We'll discuss a deer attack in Alberta, and then we'll wonder how a Toronto psychic managed to convince someone to give them their life savings in exchange for some glass jars from the dollar store. So this one gets weird. Let's get into it. Handsome Aaron Airport, how are you? What's new? Any complaints?
Well, things are very busy. Work is extremely busy right now.
Oh, pushing pencils, right? You have one of those jobs where you just push pencils?
Well, I prefer to call it counting beans. I count beans. So.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So there's a lot of beans lately that need to be counted. So I've been very busy counting beans.
Okay. Anything to say about... I'm going to give you a list of topics and you can just riff. There's been a big hockey game in Canada since we last spoke. We had a heat wave, which I think we complained about last week that it was coming. That happened. You have a great cat, Ken Tiggs. Any of those topics you got anything to say about?
The hockey games I did not watch. I kept my eye on them, but I did not watch them. The heat, I very much enjoyed. I got to the beach. I did some swimming.
Really?
It was awesome. Yeah.
Cool.
Why are you so surprised by that?
Well, because it's like, yeah, the weather was hot, but we're in the east coast of Canada. Like a couple hot days doesn't make the water warm. I imagine it was freezing there.
No, the water was beautiful.
Really?
Beautiful. Felt like early August water.
Wow.
Pretty great. I took my shirt off at the beach. I paraded around.
Mm-hmm.
I let the other beach goers see my body. They didn't see all of it. They only saw the upper half, but I allowed them to use their imagination about what the rest of it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay. And the reviews are mixed?
they're mostly negative.
Well, I don't think either of us have much important things to say. So let's hear from a listener. We got a few here. We got a lot of feedback on some topics we discussed last week. But let's start with an interesting little tidbit. I like when a listener can provide a whole different side of the story than you and I were able to pick up on, or even the newscaster was able to pick on in this case. Bob from Newfoundland sent a voicemail suggesting that the Sudbury dog attack that we talked about last week, where the owner took off with the dog, that owner may have had an additional reason to flee. Listen to what Bob has to say about this.
Oh, hi, Jordan and Aaron. My name's Bob. I'm calling from Newfoundland, but recently moved here from Sudbury, and I'm listening to your current show discussing the dog attacks in Sudbury. Another thing that you didn't mention that might be a factor in the owner of the pit bull or pit bull-like dog is that they're actually illegal to be owned in Ontario. So another reason why she wouldn't want to be caught. Anyways, I thought I'd let you know that was fact too. Have a great day. Bye for now.
I had no idea about this. I'm surprised it's not a bigger controversy. I find people are really sensitive about the different breeds of dogs and all this stuff. I'm surprised Ontario was able to pass a bylaw banning. There's a list of breeds, but I look at them all and I'm like, they're all kind of pit bull like dogs. They're completely banned.
Yeah, and people are sensitive to it. I know there are people who, people who are more up on the subject than I am that will go off on it and talk about how they pit bulls are fine and all of these things. It's the owners, and and that's kind of what I say usually. It's not
Yeah.
the dog, it's the owner. Is usually where my opinion falls. But
But a little background on the Ontario pit bull ban, 'cause I did read up on it. They banned pit bulls in 2005 after a high-profile attack. Two of them attacked a man in Toronto. The main reason there are so many pit bulls still in Ontario is the enforcement of that bylaw is almost nil. Of course, there's like illegal breeding happening, as well as if someone moves to Ontario and they already have a pit bull, it's not like they stop you at the border to Ontario and search your car for contraband pit bulls. What they do in that province, if they do find a pit bull, it can be shipped out of the province, it can be turned over to a research facility, or it can be euthanized. The second two options are weird. Would you rather be euthanized or turned over to a research facility if you were a living thing?
I would want to meet the owners of the facility before I agreed to be turned over to them.
Mhm.
And I would want to know specifics about the type of research they'll be engaging in using me. And then I will decide between death and hanging out in a lab.
I was excited to get that voicemail because I learned something about Ontario and the pit bull ban, and it's also a side of the story that in the articles we read, the news piece we watched, in our discussion, we never considered the Ontario pit bull ban. So, Bob, thank you for the educational moment here on Keep Canada Weird. The rest of the show isn't going to have much education. We're going to be focusing on the weird. So let's get into it. Do you want to talk about a psychic scammer, robots, an MP and a member of parliament in Ottawa who did something stupid, or should we jump right into a deer invasion? Where do you want to start with this?
Well, I already know what my least favorite story is. So,
Oh,
do we want to start the show with my least favorite story, or should we put that in the middle of the show? I think we should put it in the middle.
yeah, I agree.
And so I think let's start off with the AI is ruining everything story.
Really? Okay, I was thinking that was going to be your least favorite because you're kind of like an office dweller, so I thought maybe this would scare you because
I don't dwell anywhere. I exist and I contribute. Dwelling to me sounds like someone who is just sitting there doing nothing, sucking all of the resources in of the spot that they're dwelling in and not giving anything
wow.
back. They're just dwelling and existing and sucking.
I struck a nerve with that. As you know, Aaron, we live in a time of rapid change, and technology is moving even quicker than the world around us. While we've all been worrying about artificial intelligence and deepfake pornography, employees of some Canadian federal buildings want us to be aware of another existential threat: the robots that are roaming some federal buildings in Canada.
Well, Graham, the device is called Verbrix. It's been used in at least 3 federal office buildings this year, and CTV News is told that it collects specific data around workplace safety, but there's concerns around privacy. Federal workers have seen this robot roaming around the workplace.
Members find it intrusive, quite demoralizing, because they have a robot that's, first of all, in their work area, that's doing the work that they are more than capable of doing. And the robot can be a certain health and safety and environment issue, because if you don't see the robot, you can easily trip over him.
The device is created by a company called Global DWS. The owner says they focus on workplace health and safety.
It's been very helpful in identifying and pointing out any readings from temperature, humidity, and air quality, and different indoor air gases.
Yeah, so there's a robot in the PDP-4, which is...
But the robot has a camera, and the union is concerned about surveillance of employees. The company says it doesn't store images and can't identify people. It was used in at least 3 federal office buildings during the month of March. But with the 3-day return to the office mandate only months away, there's concerns that the robot will be used again.
It's noticeable. There's a robot strolling around amongst the cubicles, and it can be quite distracting for certain concern of our members, and again, demoralizing, knowing that there's a robot possibly checking in under attendance.
The federal government says the devices do not recognize individuals and do not have any ability to spy or track employees in the workplace. It's not clear whether this robot will be expanded to other workplaces.
Anytime you have robotics or any kind of instruments, you have to look under the hood. What exactly is being collected in terms of the information that is being gathered? How is it being used? Is it disclosed to any unauthorized third parties?
And the owner of the company that creates the robot could not confirm whether its use is being expanded to other workplaces within the federal government. Meanwhile, a statement from the federal government a few minutes ago says the pilot project was at 3 different office locations only, and only for a short period of time.
I think you'll agree with me, but I'm just going to come right out and just call complete BS on the explanation for what that robot's doing. The news CTV had like the owner, it seemed like the owner of the company who designed this robot explaining what it does, and he seemed to just kind of freeze and then say something about like it's collecting data on temperature and humidity, health and safety info. You need a robot?
Yeah, they decided to fill a very unspoken need that all offices around the country have. And that's that our thermostats are too stationary.
Yeah, we need them just walking around with cameras on.
Yeah, we need them roaming around, and we need to be constantly under threat of tripping over our thermostats. That's another thing, too, that people want in offices. The thing about these things is this is just a little test. It's a toe dipper, of how much can a robot get away with in the workplace. So what they're going to want to do in the first people, it's not going to be the frontline office workers that are going to lose their jobs to robots first. It's the supervisors. So what they're trying to discover here and test here is this robot that we say is just there to, measure temperature and the walls that we built. You already have the square footage of the place. What nonsense are you saying that this robot is recording? It has a camera. Like you say it can't recognize human faces. This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
You remember we talked about the pop machine a few weeks ago or months ago that could identify faces and come up with like it would kind of reconfigure its layout based on the age of the person and stuff. Like, they put that stuff in a pop machine, a vending machine. What does this robot that's roaming around our government buildings have built into it?
Yeah, they're seeing if it's possible for the robots to supervise the frontline office workers. So if this robot is able to register and track and be able to know if an employee is being productive, if they're doing their job or not, can this robot, observe an environment and take in that data and be able to administer supervision? Whether it's through vocally, where, work harder, or it zaps you with electricity.
Yeah, I like
enough chit chat, back to work.
It's there's
do not trip over me, get back to work. The temperature in the room is 21 degrees Celsius.
It's when you look at the robot, it's also stupid looking. Like it's basically a big kind of cylinder with a pole sticking out of it with a camera on the top of the pole. Like if it is a surveillance robot, they did a horrible job of trying to make it not look like its sole purpose is just to surveil the people while they work.
Yeah. It's like their supervisor is dressed up as a robot sitting on a vacuum cleaner. It's like how it actually looks. He's going around as, I am not your supervisor, dressed up as a robot. I am a thermostat. I am innocent. Please continue on as if you don't think I'm your supervisor.
Oh, man. And this story is coming out at a time where there's a lot of controversy around the federal government demanding its employees to come back to the office 3 days a week. A lot of federal employees are still working from home since the pandemic, and there's been a bit of a battle about whether or not they'll go back to the office. And so far, it kind of seems like the government's winning and it's getting its employees back at least 3 days a week. But Now they're throwing robots into the mix.
Yeah, imagine being the employee who, since March of 2020, has been working from home, right? Lives through the pandemic, and then is told you have to return to the office 3 days a week, and then there's robots everywhere when they get there.
People got it tough.
The pandemic was simpler times. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Bring me back to 2020. When everything shut down, all of a sudden, all you had to worry about was not getting a mystery virus off of a can of Zoodles. Like that was it. You went to the grocery store with gloves on and a mask and dodged people, and then went home and played Xbox. Yeah. And that was your life.
I got something for you, and I really need you to put on your investigation, or at least like your logic and reason cap. Do you remember we talked about in Guelph, there was the teacher who found himself in hot water after bringing a group of students into the sewer system, I suppose, or the wastewater system. I think I called that section something like the magic school bus in Guelph. Well, I want to hear what you think about this voicemail. I don't know if it's someone with a theory about why they went in there, or if this is one of the students who went in there. Pay close attention to how they describe things.
Hi, Jordan and Aaron. I'm calling about the manhole cover story. I agree that this article is very short and leaves a lot to be guessed. It's very vague. So my theory is that they started at the tunnel entrance near the skate park. Actually more close to the soccer fields by the river. Right? So this tunnel drains the stormwater to the river. And this tunnel goes underneath the highway and then up into the city. And I had a teacher that brought our class to this tunnel, and we looked around inside. We didn't go too far, but honestly, I don't think it's that weird. Yeah, there are tunnels under Guelph. That's just separate from this stormwater thing. There are like secret tunnels under Guelph. There are secret tunnels under the University of Guelph. There are tunnels that lead from some of the restaurants downtown Guelph to, this is a rumor, this part, to the Church of Our Lady, and then they're rumored to have been dug by the mafia. Don't shoot the messenger, but this is a thing.
They seem to know a lot about how someone got in and moved around in there, but they present it as a theory, but they say like my class and my teacher. Like, what do you make of this?
It sounded like, the way I heard it was he had gone on a similar school trip, where, my teacher brought us to the entrance of the tunnel, and so it sounded like he had a similar experience, is how I heard it. But then it went off the rails with all the secret tunnels and the and the Sasquatch and the UFOs, and everything else that started to bleed its way into the end of his voicemail there.
I enjoyed it. When you get when I receive an anonymous voicemail, I say, here we go. And when that anonymous voicemail trails off into secret tunnels that, he was okay kind of speculating about a lot of the tunnels. But when it got to the tunnel that went under the church, he was really cautious. Like, no, there's just a rumor. I don't know for sure. Don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah, I'm just not sure why that information would cause us to shoot anybody.
I'm not at all offended by these secret tunnels.
Yeah, I'm not geographically or emotionally attached to these landmarks that you're speaking of. So I'm not slamming my fists down and tunnels under what? How dare you?
Oh man, let's move on. Let's get into the Ottawa MP and his erroneous map. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'd love to get into that with you.
Is this your least favorite story?
No.
Okay, I'm so curious what your least favorite story is. Let's get into this one, and then I'll try again to pinpoint your least favorite story of the night.
Yeah, you'll guess after this one, because we only have two left, right?
Yeah.
after this one.
A member of parliament in Ottawa named Yasser Natvi wanted to do something nice for his constituents on Canada Day. He intended the gift to be a map of Canada for kids to color in. However, inadvertently, the gift he offered was a lesson in the importance of double-checking the information you mail to the people you answer to. Listen to what this clown did.
Ottawa Centre MP Yasser Naqvi is dealing with a geographical hiccup, a map flap, after mailing thousands of residents in his riding a Canada Day flyer with a coloring map of the country. The only problem, a province and a territory weren't there.
Yeah, I sounded a flag.
Liberal MP Yasser Naqvi's intention was all about some Canada Day fun. Mail a flyer to constituents, a bright red flag on the front and a map on the back.
So the kids could color and learn.
Oh, and there's a lesson here in detail, because this map is a few crayons short of a country. PEI is MIA, and there's no Yukon either, just a giant Northwest territory, and the borders are blurred between Quebec, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick.
I'm embarrassed, frankly. I mean, it's an honest mistake, and I apologize for that.
Mostly funny.
Ian McMaster, like many Ottawa Centre residents, say the flubbed flag flyer is more a lighthearted slip than a party line.
I put it down to somebody in the back room making up a brochure. They're not that careful with their editing.
Mistakes do happen, and surely this one was unintentional, but maybe it could have been avoided if only there was a place, a store dedicated to specializing in maps.
His office definitely should have come here and gotten a map.
Prince Edward Island's on every Canada map patron Tom sells here at World of Maps. The Wellington Street West shop even has a few educational maps complete with all 10 provinces and 3 territories.
So this has the names of it, and then this is no more names.
On social media, Naqvi offered a cheeky solution. The map can be a teaching opportunity about geography and to learn about the left-out regions.
I'm trying to be cute about this, but the fact of the matter is we made a mistake, and I'm apologetic.
If you come out of something like that, you have to put some kind of good message on it. And if you apologize, that's great.
I want to make sure that all our homes here in Ottawa Centre get a flag of Canada that they can display with pride and show their pride in our country.
I don't know what to say about that, but he made a mistake. It's embarrassing. He's got a bit of pie on his face. But I think as far as the damage control, I think he's handling it really well. He's taking it all in stride, apologetic as well as a kind of lighthearted take on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and nobody's praising him for getting most of the provinces and territories on the map.
Yeah, give him a break.
Like, that's the thing, is he got most of them.
Yeah, and I'm not going to criticize this guy because my geography is horrible. Whatever map I would put together would be far worse than missing a couple provinces and merging all the territories together. But it's just, it's funny because it's a politician. He's a member of parliament. And how does that slip through? I'm sure it wasn't him sitting down, organizing all this and sending it out. It's just some lackey behind him.
No, it was his summer student.
Yeah, that's probably it, eh?
That's 100% who did that, was a summer student. They put it together. They made the mistake. He may have had the issue of not sitting down with the coloring map and making sure PEI is there. I just would have assumed, I asked them to make me a map of Canada that kids can color, and I assumed all of Canada was going to be on that map. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't. So maybe he learned a lesson in, maybe he needs a robot to be in his office to be zapping any employees who forget PEI.
I think Buddy just needs a wake-up call in terms of like his delegation tasks or activities, because it's just it's not a huge mistake. No one's going to die over this, but a lot of people are laughing at this MP, and it's, that's not good to be the laughing stock of the country for a day.
Yeah, until a zombie apocalypse happens and people are kind of making their way from town to town, city to city over the years, and somebody hears through a very faint radio signal that they got, kind of trying to find any kind of human contact out there, and they hear PEI, Get the PEI. The cure is here. The cure is here. Get the PEI. And they're like, I got to get the PEI. I need a map. And then they find this map. But the real bad guys in this story are those pretentious map store owners. Do you find?
I don't know. The news went to them. They didn't throw themselves into the story. They just happened to own a huge store called the World of Maps, which is the worst store ever.
The worst name for a map store. They just call it the Map of Maps.
I don't know if they were pretentious because they also had a product that was like the far superior version of what this guy was trying to send out to his constituents. On one side of the paper was the map of Canada and everything was labeled. On the other side of the paper was like the same map, except there was no labels. So I guess it could help kids figure out which province is where. You could quiz them or something. It's a pretty cool thing. I think the news just went there to shake it up.
Yeah, I mean their maps were very nice, what we could tell, but they were just like, oh yes, come on into our beautiful map store where our maps have all of the provinces and territories on them. Oh, and look, and you can flip to the other side, and all the provinces are on that side too.
You were okay with it last week on last week's episode when we heard about the driveway scammers, and the victim ended up hiring the actual company. They changed their name, or they set up their name to match. You were okay with it then, but now when an MP sends out a crappy map, you're not okay with the good map store getting some publicity.
Yeah, but that's a completely different situation. In the driveway paving situation, they thought they were hiring that other company.
That's true. It's not like he thought he was sending out World of Maps.
They just went back to the original plan of hiring the professional company to pave their driveway.
Yeah, bad analogy, Jordan. I'm sorry, Aaron.
Yeah.
For coming at
That's
you
all
like
right.
that.
You should apologize to World of Maps, where you walk in and it's just an actual map store.
Man, the internet must have hurt their business, eh?
The internet?
Yes, like imagine remember MapQuest? It was like a big company, people would subscribe, and if you went on a road trip, you'd like get the map and you'd print it all out and it would show you where to go. Now just everyone has it in their phones, GPS and everything else. Why would you need to go to World of Maps as a regular person? Like it has to be such a fringe interest that would bring you to World of Maps to buy something. If I wanted a map of anything, it's like literally a click away on my phone. And not only is it a map, it's interactive and I can see where I am and everything else.
I think maps that you would purchase, not to defend World of Maps and their snooty directional pieces of silks and fabrics and whatever else they sell there. But are you suggesting that World of Maps is a front for drug money?
I never thought of that, but I'm surprised they meant it's hard to run a business in this day and age. I think it'd be especially hard to run a business selling maps.
You know, I was just kind of poking a little fun at the owners and how ridiculous I thought they were, but you want the business to go down. You want them to lose their livelihood.
I'm cool with them being open. I just think I'm just shocked that there's a market for it.
Yeah,
this is very rarely do we disagree to the point of like gridlock in our conversation. We're not going to agree. We have differing opinions on the World of Maps. I think
you want the owners of World of Maps to starve to death. And I want people to be satisfied with the map that's missing PEI because that's so hard to color anyway. It's too small.
Seriously, yeah. That I agree with. Let's move on my endless quest to find Aaron's least favorite story of the night. There's one that is my favorite, and I'm kind of tempted to save it for last. Let's just say we talk about a lot of animal stories. If animals attack people in Canada and it makes it onto the news, we will cover it here. And it's happened. We'll call this segment Deer Invasion, Alberta. A Lethbridge, Alberta woman is raising the alarm about aggressive deer invading the community after a vicious attack left her dog Henry severely injured. Before I play the news clip, is this your least favorite story?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
My least favorite story.
That's how we set it up. Here comes Aaron's least favorite story.
Yeah.
Here it comes.
Known for its beautiful heritage homes and canopies of trees, the South Side is the perfect environment for a leisurely stroll. But lately, aggressive deer are disrupting the peace. On Monday, Julie Dimert was walking her 10-year-old dog Henry. It quickly turned into a nightmare when she noticed a deer following them along 8th Avenue South.
My dog was running just ahead of me, like he was on a leash and just ahead of me, but he was nervous too, like his ears were down and his tail was down, and we were both kind of jogging along. And then all of a sudden the deer was just right behind me, like it just kind of overtook us.
Dimert says she tried to divert the doe by waving her arms and shouting.
It just wouldn't stop coming.
The deer knocked Henry onto his side and pounced onto the dog's abdomen with its sharp front hooves.
It was just chaos, and I was screaming like crazy, like for help, and I just didn't know what to do.
Some people passing by stopped and ushered Dimert and Henry into their vehicle. But the damage was done, leaving Dimert with a $1,300 vet bill and Henry with a laceration longer than the vet's hand. Alberta Fish and Wildlife were notified, but there's no word on if they plan to track down the aggressive deer. The city of Lethbridge recently posted an advisory on social media asking residents to give deer space as it's currently fawning season. Dimert says she wants to share her story to warn people to be careful and aware of their surroundings if they go for a walk.
It'll be a long time before I venture out with Henry in this neighborhood again.
So I've listened to that clip a couple times. I've read about this story tonight. I think this is an important story to talk about. What do you have against Henry, its owner, aggressive deer?
No, I'm nothing against Henry or the owner or even the aggressive deer. I have nothing against. I don't like stories that like talk about or show dogs or cats getting injured or hurt or killed, or I just don't like those stories.
I think this is this our second or third week in a row we have dogs getting
attacked? Yeah. I think once in a while I can stomach it, but it's been a few recently, and yeah, I'm starting to really dislike these stories for that reason. Not because they're not worth talking about. It's just for my own selfish reasons. I just hate, like last week, the story about the dog attacking the other dog. I was like, I can't watch this. I don't like that.
Mm-hmm. And now this has just raised the bar a bit, because it's like a deer knocking it. Why would the deer choose to attack this dog and like jump on him or whatever it is that's happened? A 10-year-old dog, which is like an old man of a dog. I guess it's fawning season. Does that mean mating?
Mm-hmm. I'm not allowed to Google, so.
Yeah, I think it means mating
I would
season.
assume it means mating.
Yeah, and I know deer get a little nuts during mating season. Last year, I famously, I don't know if I talked about it on the show, but I woke up in the middle of the night with a god-awful noise coming from like outside my window. And I actually, what I thought it was someone like building something. It sounded like just like wood on wood banging. I was like, who is like nailing boards together at 4 a.m. in like suburban Halifax, in the quiet neighborhood in Halifax? And I got up and looked out my window, and sure enough, there's these two big deer with like the horns and everything just slamming into each other, like trying to kill each other on my front lawn.
Mm-hmm.
And called my dad the next day, and he wasn't surprised at all. He's like, oh yeah, it's mating season. They're probably, the bucks are just out fighting at night. And anyway.
Yeah.
My story.
Yeah, it's romantic.
Aaron, I'll talk to our editors and our researchers in like kind of the upper brass of the Keep Canada Weird Army, and I'll make sure that future stories do not include dogs or cats being attacked by anything, including each other. Any other animals to worry about, though?
Just dogs and cats.
Rabbits?
Animal violence is it's not something I put on the top of my wish list of stories to.
Are you cool with them coming towards
about.
humans, though? Like those stories are still okay?
Yeah, generally animals attacking humans. I still enjoy that.
You do celebrate it. Let's get into our last story of the night. And I don't know. I think we may have saved the best for last. This story, I believe, was drummed up by the Keep Canada Weird gods to encompass so many of the things that we both enjoy. We'll call this one a psychic scammer, ... or a psychic with a money-back guarantee. A woman is calling baloney on a Toronto psychic after the fortune teller allegedly took her life savings in exchange for warding off the evil spirits that have been plaguing her and her family. In a bizarre narrative that includes gold foil, glass jars from Dollarama, Niagara Falls, and $46,000, the anonymous victim claims the fortune teller themselves is the only evil spirit she should have been worried about. Here comes the story.
You've no doubt seen signs for them across the GTA, psychics and astrologers offering their services to help solve personal and financial problems.
And while some may offer comfort to believers, there have also been cases of fraudulent activity you should be aware of. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Nathan and Michelle, a woman contacted us after she gave a psychic $46,000. She was told the money would get rid of evil spirits in her life and allow her to win the lottery. But after she paid the money, she says nothing happened.
And did any of the things that he said would happen come true?
Nothing has happened.
Marie Jean asked us not to reveal her identity because she is embarrassed to have given away her entire life savings. Last October, she lost her home and was depressed. She saw a sign for a psychic that said from divorce to depression, any problem solved within 24 hours. But at their first meeting, she was given bad news.
He said, well, if you don't do what I tell you, your life could be in danger and your sons could lose their lives.
The psychic told her to get rid of evil spirits would cost her $10,000.
We have to deal with this black magic right away, or else something bad is going to happen.
But after Marie Jean paid that money, he said he needed more because the evil spirits were too strong. She gave him a total of $46,000 and was told to get jars from a dollar store so they could be captured in a ritual.
They're going to have to be caught in these jars and captured and taken to Niagara Falls to be killed.
After that, she was told her life would be wonderful and this piece of foil in a frame would protect her.
I'm going to be the recipient of the biggest lotto, biggest jackpot. I'm going to have a home by the lake.
But then she was told the evil spirits came back and it would cost another $20,000. At that point, she felt duped. Marie Jean says it was this business in Scarborough on Kingston Road near Morningside Avenue where she gave a man named Mahadev the money. When we went to the door, it was locked, so we called the number.
She gave you $46,000 to get rid of some evil spirits? Your door's locked, but we'd love to come in and talk to you if we can. How do you feel about this?
I feel terrible. I feel embarrassed and disgusted.
Later in a call to CTV News, a man who identified himself as Mahadev claimed he had no idea who Marie Jean was and said he never took her money.
First of all, about whom you're talking, I don't understand. And who is that lady, I don't know.
But days later, the psychic returned all $46,000. After 6 months of trying, Marie Jean was relieved to get her money back.
Thank you. I'm so happy. If it was not for your intervention, I would not have been given back that money. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Pat, for it. Thank you, CTV. Thank you.
And police have issued warnings in the past to be careful of psychics who claim they can solve your problems if you give them large amounts of money. They may claim the funds are needed for rituals to remove curses, evil spirits, and black magic.
That whole story just gets me. I don't know where to start with it. The whole thing is insane. I have to give the psychic credit, though, for coming up with an insane, with an elaborate story that involved, the gold foil, get the jars from Dollarama, we're going to get the evil spirits and throw them in Niagara Falls and kill them. I just need more money. Who would fall for this?
Well, the evil spirits were too strong, turns out.
It cost even more
money. Yeah, it's going to cost even more for you to go to Dollarama and get jars and with the evil spirits in jars. Before we go any further, I should clarify or have some type of an obvious statement here, but I would like to state for the record before we continue that I'm glad she got her money back.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not encourage or condone anyone trying to scam people out of money, promising things that will never happen. So that being said, the fact that she fell for this blows my mind.
Yeah, she doesn't seem like she's great with money.
If somebody is a fortune teller and a legitimate, I'm not going to sit here and try to debate or try to decide or whatever if this skill is possible to be a fortune teller or some type of someone who can see into the future or whatever, read minds, whatever it is that they're doing. We're not going to debate that.
Okay.
Let's just assume that for the purposes of this story that is somewhat possible. Okay.
We'll draw a firm line on it being somewhat possible.
Yeah. There maybe there are some people out there that can do that.
Okay. Sure. Okay.
Having said that, if you can do it, do you think you'd end up in a dumpy mini mart, mini mall type?
Yeah. If you could solve, like, in the way the advertisement looked on the front, it was like, marriage troubles, financial troubles, health troubles, any problem solved within 24 hours. If you were capable of doing that, I think you'd have a different.
You think you'd be in a mini mall in Scarborough, Ontario. But the fact that what I find surprising too is that in one breath, I kind of, made fun of the fact that he was in a mini mall in Scarborough with this business, so you shouldn't trust him. But there's enough people that do trust him that allow him to pay rent in a mini mall in Scarborough.
That's true. Yeah. I'm also thinking of the legal aspect of it. It is a sort of verbal contract where he's telling her, this is going to happen. I can do this for you. If it did go to a court, I guess it would be for like breach of contract or something. And if he has advertising outside saying like, I can solve any problem in 24 hours, he's kind of asking for it.
If he got taken to court though, like I think a good lawyer could get him off.
Yeah, that would be a wild court case though, eh?
Yeah, because again, it would just be, I'm sure he's got some kind of but he gave the money back though at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm surprised he held on to it.
No, he must have. I don't know. Like that is confusing. Like for him to be in such a dumpy little spot. And you would think when he got that $46,000, he would have immediately spent it.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't. He held on to it.
Like left town.
No, he didn't leave town.
But he could have though. Like with 46 grand,
could have
I'm sure
left
is
town.
a lot.
Yeah, but 46 grand. I mean, that wouldn't encourage me to leave town because I'm like, I'm going to burn through 46 grand on the road very quickly.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's more to this guy than we're learning in this news story.
I think it's pretty fascinating.
It's very confusing because how many other people has he scammed where he didn't give the money back? So maybe the 46,000 really means nothing to him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah,
that part is left unsolved.
It's a wild story. What goes on in those psychic, like little fortune teller shops, is a mystery to me. I've never been in one, but it's like they're always kind of dark and seedy and weird neighborhoods. I can only imagine there's a lot of odd stuff going on inside those. But I will say, like you've made a big point of walking a delicate line between believer and non-believer in mediumship and the psychic abilities. I will say that my grandmother, she could read tea leaves, and I'm a believer in it. She reads my palm. My grandmother, she's still alive today. When I see her, even now, she'll often grab my hand and she just looks at the lines in your palm. Like she can like look at it, and all the different lines mean different things. And she's a hardcore believer, and I love my grandmother, so I believe too. So screw you, Aaron, if you don't.
Hey! I said I'm not here to weigh in on if it's real or not.
Okay. Then
so I'm not saying I believe or I don't believe. I just don't think that's part of this story.
Yeah, I agree.
Whether we believe or not, the part is
Are jars from the dollar store capable of housing evil spirits? And would an evil spirit die by being chucked into Niagara Falls? It's
a pretty far fall. And that water is very powerful.
Yeah, it could kill an evil spirit. You're right.
Yeah.
Let's go out on this. I have another voicemail. It's happened again, Aaron. We've offended someone. This time, I don't know if it should be me or you apologizing, but it all dates back to 2 weeks ago, or was it last week, when we talked about whether or not City and Color, aka Dallas Green, a Canadian musician, is a fan of this show. The news that City and Color, the musical performer, likes the show came from a listener named Tim. When we played his voicemail, we definitely had a long discussion about whether or not he was telling us the truth, and I think we may have upset him. Listen to this.
Okay, this is Timothy from Arizona, and I kind of resent that you guys thought the City and Color was, or Dallas Green, like, wasn't legit. I'll tell you right now, look me up. I Care When You Do is my handle. I've been obsessed with Dallas Green since I was first got my first guitar. I've been playing his music. I've been covering his music. My brother also has, and I've met him several times. And yes, he does know what Keep Canada Weird is.
What do you want to say about this, Aaron?
Well, I think it wasn't that we didn't believe you. It was just that we really wanted confirmation from Dallas Green.
And we didn't get it.
And we didn't get it. But that's not to say that we still don't believe you. It's just we kind of spun our reaction to your voicemail in a way that would encourage Dallas Green to call in and leave a voicemail confirming the story and then adding validity to your voicemail. So again, it wasn't that we didn't believe you. We do believe you, but we just really want Dallas Green to call in on the show.
When I released that episode, I did tag his account, but a lot of like people that are famous, they don't manage their own social media. So I don't know if he saw it, but long story short, we didn't get a message from Dallas Green. So take that for what you will, listeners, Timothy.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go burn all of my Dallas Green memorabilia now.
If you're out there, Dallas Green, please mend Aaron's broken heart over the possibility that one of his favorite musicians listens. I would say your heart's not broken.
My heart's been broken for a long time. That you can't break something that's already broken.
Wow. Can you put it in a little jar and throw it down a waterfall?
Only if it's an evil spirit.
Okay. Well, with that said, let's wrap this up. Before we do you want to call out to any listeners for any specific information or voicemails or anything at all? Aaron, do you have a question you need Keep Canada Weird Army to answer for you?
We just made the call out to one Keep Canada Weird listener, Dallas Green. That's it. Okay. So anybody who wants to call in and impersonate Dallas Green.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
I'd like you to do that.
That would be fun. We could do a vocal analysis comparing like the voicemail with his recordings. And yeah. So all the Dallas Greens out there, we'd like to hear from you.
Yeah. We want a parade of Dallas Green voicemails.
So with that said, let's wrap this up, Aaron. Until next time.
Jordan, until next time.
If you ever want to do a fortune telling kind of thing, I know someone in Halifax who does it. When you're up here next, I'll go get my, like, I don't know what they do, if they look at a glass ball or read your palms. We can go do it and we could ask them questions specific to Keep Canada Weird and see if maybe we can get some insight on what's in store for us in 2025.
Yeah, maybe. I think until next time, I think you and I should open a present reading shop in a mini mall. Yeah, like we read the present.
Like we just tell the people what we think about them
right now. You know,
or I'd like, yeah.
Right now, you're sitting at a present reading, a mini mall shop, and I'm telling you what's happening right now.
And I'll be like flicking the lights in the hall, and they're like, "What?"
Yeah, and you're coming out, jars for sale, dollar store jars for sale to capture your evil spirits, $46,000 each.
I want to thank you for helping Aaron and I fulfill our mission to keep Canada weird, but let us also call out to you for even greater support in this. If something weird happens in your neck of the woods, let us know about it. As well, if you have any thoughts, theories, or opinions on anything we discussed tonight, we want to hear about that as well. The best way to reach us is by sending a voice message using the voice recorder, which is found at nighttimepodcast.com/contact. And to sweeten this deal a little bit, if your voice is aired on the show, you qualify for a free Keep Canada Weird swag pack. So once you hear your voice message played, all you got to do is email me at nighttimepodcast@gmail.com and give me your mailing address, and I'll get something out to you right away. Aaron and I are excited to hear from you. Now before we part, let me end with some thanks. First, a big thanks to Aaron for sharing another evening with me and with you, the listeners of Nighttime. A big shout out to the internet's favorite cult leader, Unicole, who provides the intro and outro voiceovers for this series, and Monty Data, who provides the outro version of O Canada. And then lastly, but most importantly, a massive thank you goes out to each and every one of you listening, as without your interest and your support, this show would be as pointless as it would be impossible. And on the topic of support, let me thank the newest subscribers to the premium feed. Amy, Angie, and Brandy, thank you for going premium. And for anyone else who'd like to support the show, you can help us out here in a variety of ways. First of all, a premium feed subscription costs just a couple dollars a month, and that money will fund the creation of new episodes. But the premium feed will also give you those episodes 2 days early, give them to you ad-free, and give you access to a full back catalog of episodes. If that sounds like something you're interested in, you can go premium at patreon.com/nighttimepodcast. And even if you don't want to go premium, you can still support the show by simply sharing this episode on social media and letting all your like-minded friends know what we're doing here. Your support in this is very much appreciated. Now until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and let me know if you see anything weird.
Keep Canada Weird is written, hosted, and produced by the Nighttime Podcast.
And now to our viewers and listeners everywhere. Good night.
Before we put a bow on this, I want to hear your Keep Canada Weird story of the night. I will tell you mine without any doubt or question. I gotta go with the psychic scammer. It's too elaborate of a scheme. It's so bizarre and absurd that it's truly a weird news story. And that's why it's my story of the week.
Yeah, I could argue that's mine as well. But just for the sake of argument, I'm going to say the robots in the office story is my favorite, because I do love the idea of a completely already defeated office worker being forced to return to the office, and then they immediately get surrounded by robots as soon as they walk in the front door.
Yeah.
And the robot just carries him away and you never see him again.
No, I'm just like, and everybody's gaslighting, like, no, that robot's like, it's not monitoring anything. It just has a camera because it uses that to read the temperature.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like,
the temperature.